Names. Pretty important. I mean, after all, everybody has one. But have you ever really stopped to consider why we call things by the names that we do? Why is a hamburger called a hamburger when there's no ham in it? Or why is it that when you have more than one mouse, they're called mice, but when we have more than one moose, they're not called meese? I may not be an English major, but there's one particular name that's always made me wonder a bit how it came to be. Was it the Joe Diffie song from the early 90s, or does it stem far beyond that? I don't know that, but what I do know is I'm Dustin the Custom Offsets. You guys can find me at dusty.co on Instagram. In today's video, we're locking in the 4 low to find out the history of trucks and find out just why they're referred to as pickups. Let's get it. If you're a truck guy or gal just like we are here at Custom Offsets, then welcome. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel. We truly hope that you enjoy the content you find. Also, if this is your first time here, we have this whole website you can check out as well. It's called customoffsets.com. Surprise, surprise.
What the f?
Not only do we have all sorts of awesome stuff like blogs and other helpful tools, but we also have a massive collection of aftermarket trucks on all sorts of wheels, tires, and suspension setups, so you can check out what fits your truck and see real-world examples of what guys are running. It's pretty neat if you ask me. Before we can get to the bottom of exactly why trucks are called pickup trucks, we have to jump headfirst into our history books and find out just where the pickup truck was first dreamed up. The year is 1896. The first Olympic Games of the modern day are being held in Athens, Greece. John and Mary are the single most popular names at the time, and people still dressed like this. While some were busy preparing for the discus throw at the Olympic Games, a guy by the name of Gottlieb Daimler was busy slaving away in his garage. See, Gottlieb thought that there had to be a better way to transport goods around town than with a horse and buggy. How right you were, Gottlieb. Thus, the very first pickup truck was born. Effectively known as simply engine number 42, Daimler invented a horseless wagon that had a 4-horsepower engine that was 2 cylinders and a displacement of just over 1 liter. Yes, it was the size of your Mountain Dew bottle on the inside of the engine. Daimler claimed that his horseless carriage could carry up to 3,300 pounds, but many people at the time actually felt that that claim was maybe a little teensy bit bold. Still, had it not been for good old Gottlieb here, the pickup truck of today may never have existed. While Gottlieb may have been the first, it didn't take too long for others to jump on board. Soon after, several other automotive companies, including Autocar, REO, AutoWagon, and King, all began producing pickup-styled utility trucks. This continued into the late 1910s when Chevy also jumped on board and began producing their early pickup trucks. These Chevy pickup trucks were nothing like the trucks of today, however, and were actually just a current time Chevy car with the rear of the cabin cut off. Best part about these early pickups was that they were actually made for the type of guy who loved to get his hands dirty. And no, it's not what you're thinking here. They weren't just made for work. When you bought a 1918 Chevy pickup truck, you actually had to install the bed on your own. Can you imagine driving down to your local Chevy dealer, picking up a brand new 2021 Silverado and having to install the bed at home in your garage, or worse yet, probably your driveway back then? Wild. Fast forward to 1929 and Chrysler came out swinging. We're talking harder than Mayweather in the Paul Mayweather fight last week. Chrysler saw what was going on in the truck market and the growing demand for automobiles that had functional cargo space on them. Consumers wanted a vehicle that was built to handle hauling heavier loads and transporting cargo, so they made exactly that. In 1928, Chrysler began production on the first real-world half-ton pickup truck, the Dodge Merchant Express. Cool looking little trucks, this Merchant Express would be the first truck specifically designed to haul heavier loads and was the first true half-ton truck to be produced ever. It featured 2 big round headlights on the front of the hood, a split steel bar front bumper, and even had a spare tire mounted right on the driver's side behind the front fender well. It was actually kind of neat, believe it or not. As the 1930s came, it brought big changes for the automotive industry as a whole. Suddenly, companies like Toyota had began importing vehicles into the United States. This led to a major shift in consumer demand in the car market, subsequently also affecting the trucks of the 30s as well. Demand in the 30s called for cars to be lower and sleeker and more stylish and comfortable. And while this was great for cars, it meant that manufacturers had to rethink how they designed their pickup trucks. They couldn't just like hack the back of the frame off and slap a pickup bed on there and call it a truck. They actually had to go back to the drawing board and engineer an actual function-built, purposeful truck. It's important to note here when looking at the history of the pickup truck that there seems to be a dead zone in the history book between the late 30s and the mid 40s, and this isn't by accident. In case you forgot from your high school history class that you slept through, this would be the time where the entire world was in turmoil fighting the great battles of the one and only World War II. Wait a second, can it be the one and only greatest world war if there was two of them? Whatever, regardless of what was going on before the war, there's one thing that's inherently clear during this time. Pretty much every automotive manufacturer halted production of their vehicles and instead focused on producing goods necessary for the war. Companies like Ford and GM actually stopped production lines and instead began producing planes for the armed Allied forces. The American automotive manufacturers built tons of other things during the war, like tanks, radar units, artillery guns, and even some munition. Just imagine, you're going to work on a Monday, everything's fine. You're bolting up 6 cylinders into current GM pickup trucks, life is great. Come into work on Tuesday and bam, you're mounting barrels on f***ing tanks. Pretty crazy, also a little bit of a wild time to be alive. It is what it is. After the war in 1945, companies had a bit of ground to make up. For this reason, we really didn't see any movement until about 1947, when American automotive manufacturers began to ramp up their truck production efforts once again. One of the first to strike while the iron was hot was, surprise, surprise, Dodge. But they weren't alone this time. By 1948, both General Motors and Ford had also jumped on board with an all-new, all-awesome, redesigned pickup truck. Dodge had its B-Series truck with its squished nose and bubbly little hood. GM introduced the Model ER pickup truck, which was the first 3/4-ton truck on the market, and Ford released the very first of its now like 163rd generation F-Series pickups. As we got into the 60s, trucks developed even further, and companies like Datsun and Toyota introduced small frame pickups and essentially created the mini truck market that we know today. As the years went on, pickups got better, faster, stronger, and more luxurious. But with all that being said, why do we call them pickup trucks? Why don't we just call them trucks? Despite being around for over 100 years, there seems to still be a bit of misunderstanding when it comes to the actual naming of pickups. From the early days, trucks were dubbed pickups because they were simply designed to, get this, just pick up heavy loads and transport them to the next destination. It's really that simple, guys. Another interesting note to understand is that most trucks today are designated as half-ton trucks, 3/4-ton trucks, or 1-ton trucks. This actually stems from the very first pickup trucks, which were rated to haul half-ton or 1,000 pounds of cargo in the bed. This is obviously a far cry from the 2,200 pounds that a brand new 2021 Silverado 1500 is rated for. Regardless of which brand you like best, it's pretty wild to hear the crazy stories that made the pickup trucks of today. What's your favorite pickup truck from the past? Drop a comment down below and let me know. I'll be personally reading through all the comments, and I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Also, if you haven't yet, please consider liking the video and sharing it with a buddy or two, and maybe hitting the subscribe button so you can keep up with all of the awesome custom offsets content that you guys could want. With that, I'm Dustin with the Custom Offsets, and we'll see you guys on the next one.